Chapter 6 Discovery. Mr. and Mrs. Shelby, after their protracted discussion on the night before, did not readily sink to response, and in consequence slept somewhat later than usual the ensuing morning. "I wonder what keeps Elijah," said Miss Shelby, after giving her bell repeated pulls to no purpose. Mr. Shelby was standing before his dressing-glass sharpening his razor, and just then the door opened and a colored boy entered with his shaving water. "Andy," said his mistress, "step to Elijah's door and tell her I have rung for her 3 times. Poor thing," she added to herself with a sigh. Andy soon returned with eyes very wide in astonishment. "Lord, Mrs. Lizzie's drawers is all open, and her things all lying every which way, and I believe she just done cleared out." The truth flashed upon Mr. Shelby and his wife at the same moment. He exclaimed then, "She suspected, and he's off." "The Lord be thanked," said Miss Shelby. "I trust she is. Wife, you talk like a fool. Really, it will be something pretty awkward for me if she is. Haley saw that I hesitated about selling this child, and he'll think I connived at it to get him out of the way. It touches my honor," and Mr. Shelby left the room hastily. There was great running and ejaculating, and opening and shutting of doors, and appearances of faces in all shades of color in different places for about a quarter of an hour. One person only who might have shed some light on the matter was entirely silent, and that was the head cook, Aunt Chloe. Silently and with a heavy cloud settled down over the once joyous face, she proceeded making out her breakfast biscuits as if she heard and saw something of the excitement around her. Very soon about a dozen young imps were roosting, like so many crows, on the veranda railings, each one determined to be the first one to apprise the strange master of his ill luck. "He'll be real mad, I'll be bound," said Andy. "Won't he swar?" said little Black Jake. "Yes, for he does swar," said Woolly-head Mandy. "I heard him yesterday at dinner. I heard all about it then, 'cause I got into the closet where Missus keepin' the great jugs, and I heard every word." And Mandy, who had never in her life thought of the meaning of a word she had heard, more than a black cat, now took airs of superior wisdom and strutted about, forgetting to state that though actually coiled up among the jugs, at the time specified she had been fast asleep all the time. When at last Haley appeared, booted and spurred, he was saluted with the bad tidings on every hand. The young imps on the veranda were not disappointed in their hope of hearing him swar, which he did with a fluency and fervency which delighted them all amazingly, as they ducked and dodged hither and thither, to be out of the reach of his riding whip, and all whooping off together, they tumbled in a pile of immeasurable giggle on the withered turf under the veranda, where they kicked up their heels and shouted to their full satisfaction. "If I had the little devils," muttered Haley between his teeth. "But you hadn't got 'em, though," said Andy with a triumphant flourish, and making a string of indescribable mouths at the unfortunate trader's back, when he was fairly beyond hearing. "I say now, Shelby, this year's most extraordinary business," said Haley, as he abruptly entered the parlor. "It seems that gal's off with her young'un." "Mr. Haley, Miss Shelby is present," said Mr. Shelby. "I beg pardon, ma'am," said Haley, bowing slightly with a still lowering brow, "but still I say, as I said before, this year's singular report. Is it true, sir?" "Sir," said Mr. Shelby, "if you wish to communicate with me, you must observe something of the decorum of a gentleman. Andy, take Mr. Haley's hat and riding whip. Take a seat, sir." "Yes, sir. I regret to say that the young woman, excited by overhearing or having reported to her something of this business, has taken her child in the night and made off." "I did expect fair dealing in this matter, I confess," said Haley. "Well, sir," said Mr. Shelby, turning sharply round upon him, "what am I to understand by that remark? If any man calls my honor in question, I have but one answer for him." The trader cowered at this, and in a somewhat lower tone said that it was pulgary hard on a fellow that had made a fair bargain to be gulled that way. Mr. Haley, said Mr. Shelby, if I did not think you had some cause for disappointment, I should not have borne from you the rude and unceremonious style of your entrance into my parlor this morning. I say thus much, however, since appearances call for it, that I shall allow of no insinuations cast upon me, as if I were at all my partner to any unfairness in this matter. Moreover, I shall feel bound to give you every assistance in the use of horses, servants, and the recovery of your property. So in short, Haley, said he, suddenly dropping from the tone of dignified coolness to his ordinary one of easy frankness, the best way for you is to keep good-natured and eat some breakfast, and we will then see what is to be done. Miss Shelby now rose and said her engagements would prevent her being at the breakfast table that morning, and deputing a very respectable mulatto woman to attend to the gentleman's coffee at the sideboard, she left her room. Old lady, don't like your humble servant over and above, said Haley, with an uneasy effort to be very familiar. I am not accustomed to hear my wife spoken of with such freedom, said Mr. Shelby dryly. Beg pardon, of course, only a joke, you know, said Haley, forcing a laugh. Some jokes are less agreeable than others, rejoined Shelby. Devilish free, now I've signed those papers. Cuss him, muttered Haley to himself. Quite grand since yesterday. Never did fall of any prime minister at court occasion wider surges of sensation than a report of Tom's fate among his compeers on the place. It was the topic in every mouth, everywhere, and nothing was done in the house or in the field but to discuss its probable results. Elijah's flight, an unprecedented event on the place, was also a great accessory in stimulating the general excitement. Black Sam, as he was commonly called, from his being about 3 shades blacker than any other son of ebony on the place, was revolving the matter profoundly in all its phases and bearings, with a comprehensiveness of vision and a strict look-out to his own personal well-being that would have done credit to any white patriot in Washington. It's an ill wind that blow nowhere, that are a fact, said Sam, sensuously giving an additional hoist to his pantaloons, and ardently substituting a long nail in place of a missing suspender button, with which effort of mechanical genius he seemed highly delighted. Yes, it's an ill wind blow nowhere, he repeated. Now there, Tom. Down Walworth's course wanders room for some slave to be up. And why not this slave? That's the idea. Tom, a-riding round the country, boots, black pass in his pockets, all grand as cuff, but who be? Now why shouldn't Sam? That's what I want to know. Hello, Sam, master wants you to catch Bill and Jerry, said Andy, cutting short Sam's soliloquy. Hi, what a foot, now young'un? Why, you don't know, I suppose, that Lizzie cut stick and cleared out with her young'un. You teach your granny, said Sam with infinite contempt. Noted a heap sight sooner than you did. This slave ain't so green now. Well, anyhow, master wants Bill and Jerry geared right up, and you and I's go with Master Haley to look after her. Good, now, that's the time of day, said Sam. It's Sam that calls for in dis yer times. He's some slave. See if I don't catch her right now, master. See what Sam can do. Ah, but Sam, said Andy, you better think twice, for missus don't want her catched, and she'll be in your wool. Hi, said Sam, opening his eyes. How you know that? Heard her say so, my own self, this blessed mornin' when I bring in master's shavin' water. She sent me to see why Lizzie didn't come to dress her. When I telled her she was off, she's just riding up and seized me. The Lord be praised, the master he seems real mad and sees he, wife, you talk like a fool, but Lord, she'll bring him to. I know well enough how that'll be. It alerts best to stand Mrs. side of the fence, now I tell her. Black Sam upon this scratched his woolly pate, which if it did not contain very profound wisdom, still contained a great deal of a particular species, much in demand among politicians of all complexions and countries, and vulgarly denominated, knowing which side of the bread is buttered, so stopping with grave consideration, he again gave a hitch to his pantaloons, which was his regularly organized method of assisting his mental perplexities. "Der ain't no sayin' never 'bout no kind of thing in dis yer world," he said at last. Sam spoke like a philosopher, emphasizing this, as if he had had large experience in different sorts of worlds, and therefore had come to his conclusion advisedly. "Now, sartin I'd say that Missus would 'a' scoured the varsal world after Lizzie," added Sam thoughtfully. "So she would," said Andy, "but can't you see that a ladder, ye black slave, Missus don't have dist yer Master Haley to get Lizzie's boy, dat's to go." "Hi," said Sam with an indescribable intonation known only to those who have heard it amongst the negroes. "And I'll tell you more and all," said Andy. "I specs you better be makin' tracks for dem houses. Mighty suddenly, too, for I hearn Miss quittin' after years, so you've stood foolin' long enough." Sam upon this began to bestir himself in real earnest, and after a while appeared bearing down gloriously towards the house, with Bill and Jerry in a full canter, and ardently throwing himself off before they had any idea of stopping. He brought them up alongside the horse post like a tornado. Haley's horse, which had a skittish young colt, winced and bounced and pulled hard at his halter. "Ho, ho," said Sam. "Scary, are ya?" And his black visage lighted up with a curious mischievous gleam. "I'll fix you now," he said. There was a large beech tree overshadowing the place. The small, sharp, triangular beech nuts lay scattered thickly on the ground. With one of these in his fingers, Sam approached the colt, stroked and patted, and seemed apparently busy in soothing his agitation. On pretense of adjusting the saddle, he ardently slipped under its sharp little nut in such a manner that the least weight brought upon the saddle would annoy the nervous sensibilities of the animal, without leaving any perceptible graze or wound. "Dar," he said, rolling his eyes with an approving grin. "Me fix 'em." At this moment Miss Shelby appeared on the balcony, beckoning to him. Sam approached with as good a determination to pay court as did ever suitor after a vacant place at St. James or Washington. "Why have you been loitering so, Sam? I sent Andy to tell you to hurry." "Lord bless you, missus," said Sam. "Horses won't be cotched all in a minute. They'd be done cleared out way down to the south pasture, and Lord knows whart." "Sam, how often must I tell you not to say Lord bless you, and the Lord knows, and such things? It's wicked." "Oh, Lord bless my soul, I done forgot, missus. I don't say nothing of the sort no more." "Why, Sam, you just have said it again." "Did I? Oh, Lord, I mean, I didn't go for to say it." "You must be careful, Sam." "Just let me get my breath, missus, and I'll start fair. I'll be very careful." "Well, Sam, you are to go with Mr. Haley to show him the road and help him. Be careful of the horses, Sam. You know Jerry was a little lame last week. Don't ride them too fast." Miss Shelby spoke the last words with a low voice and strong emphasis. "Let this child alone for that," said Sam, rolling up his eyes with a volume of meaning. "Lord knows I didn't say that," said he, suddenly catching his breath, with a ludicrous flourish of apprehension which made his mistress laugh spite of herself. "Yes, missus, I'll look out for de horses." "Now, Andy," said Sam, returning to his stand under the beech trees, "you see, I wouldn't be all surprised if that ar gentleman critter should give a fling, and by when he comes to be getting up, you know, Andy, critters'll do such things." And therewith Sam poked Andy in the side in a highly suggestive manner. "Hi," said Annie, with an air of instant appreciation. "Yes, you see, Andy, missus wants to make time. Dat ar's clear to be a most ordinary observer. I just make a little for her. Now, you see, get all de yer horse loose, caperin' promiscuous round dis yer lot and down to wood dar, and I spec master won't be off in a hurry." Andy grinned. "You see," said Sam. "You see, Andy?" If any such thing should happen as that Master Haley's horse should begin to act contrary and cut up, and I just let go of our to help him. And we'll help him, oh yes." And Sam and Andy laid their heads back on their shoulders and broke into a low and moderate laugh, snapping their fingers and flourishing their heels with exquisite delight. At this instant Haley appeared on the veranda. Somewhat mollified by certain cups of very good coffee, he came out smiling and talking, in tolerably restored humor. Sam and Andy, clawing for certain fragmentary palm leaves which they were in the habit of considering as hats, flew to the horse post to be ready to help Master. Sam's palm leaf had been ingeniously disentangled from all pretensions to braid, as respect its brim, and the silvers starting apart and starting upright gave it a blazing air of freedom and defiance, quite equal to that of any Fiji chief. While the whole brim of Andy being deported bodily, he rapped the crown on his head with a dexterous thump, and looked about, well pleased as if to say, "Who says I haven't got a hat?" "Well, boys," said Haley, "look alive now, we must lose no time." "Not a bit of him, Master," said Sam, putting Haley's rein in the hand and holding his stirrup, and Andy was untying the other two horses. The instant Haley touched his saddle, the mettlesome creature bounded from the earth with a sudden spring that threw his master sprawling some feet off on the soft dry turf. Sam, with frantic ejaculations, made a dive at the reins, but only succeeded in brushing the blazing palm leaf aforenamed in the horse's eyes, which by no means tended to allay the confusion of his nerves. So with great vehemence he overturned Sam, giving 2 or 3 contemptuous snorts, flourished his heels vigorously in the air, and was soon prancing away towards the lower end of the lawn, followed by Bill and Jerry, whom Andy had not failed to let loose according to contract, speeding them off with various direful ejaculations. And now ensued a miscellaneous scene of confusion. Sam and Andy ran and shouted, dogs barked here and there, Mike, Moses, Mandy, Fanny, and all the smaller specimen of the place, both male and female, raised chapped hands, whooped and shouted with outrageous officiousness and untiring zeal. Haley's horse, which was a white one and very fleet and spirited, appeared to enter into the spirit of the scene with a great gusto, and having for his course and ground a lawn of nearly half a mile in extent, gently sloping down on every side in an indefinite woodland, he appeared to take indefinite delight in seeing how near he could allow his pursuers to approach him, and then when within a hand's breadth, whisk off with a start and a snort like a mischievous beast, as he was, and career far down into some alley of a woodlot. Nothing was further from Sam's mind than to have any one of the troops taken until such season as should seem to him most befitting, and the extensions that he made were certainly most heroic. Like the sort of Coeur d'Alene, which always blazed in the front and thickest of a battle, Sam's palm leaf was to be seen everywhere. When there was the least danger that a horse could be caught, there he would bear down, full tilt, shouting, "Now for it, catch him, in a way that would set everything to indiscriminate rout in a moment. Haley ran up and down and cursed and swore and stamped miscellaneously. Mr. Shelby in vain tried to shout directions from the balcony, and Miss Shelby from her chamber window alternately laughed and wondered, not without some inkling of what lay at the bottom of all this confusion. At last, about 12 o'clock, Sam appeared triumphant, mounted on Jerry, with Haley's horse by his side, reeking with sweat but with flashing eyes and dilated nostrils, showing that the spirit of freedom had not yet entirely subsided. "He's catched," he exclaimed triumphantly. "If I hadn't been for me, they might have bust themselves all on him, but I cotched him." "You growled, Haley, in no amiable mood. If it hadn't been for you, this never would have happened." "Lord bless us, master," said Sam in a tone of the deepest concern, "and me that has been racing and chasing till the sweat just pours off me." "Well, well," said Haley, "you've lost me near 3 hours, and with you cursed nonsense. Now let's be off and have no more fooling." "Why, master," said Sam in a deprecating tone. "I believed you mean to kill us all, Clare, horses and all. Here we are just ready to drop down, and all the critters all in a reek of sweat. Why, master don't think of staring on now till after dinner. Master's hoss wants rubbing down, see how he splashed hisself, and Jerry limps too. Don't think missus wouldn't be willin' to have us start this year way, nohow. Lord bless you, master, we can catch up. If we do stop, Lizzie never was no great of a walker." Miss Shelby, who greatly to her amusement had overheard this conversation from veranda, now resolved to her part. She came forward and courteous, expressing her concern for Haley's accident, expressed him to stay to dinner, saying that the cook shouldn't bring it on the table immediately. Thus, all things considered, Haley, with rather an unequivocal grace, proceeded to the parlor, while Sam, rolling his eyes after him with an unutterable meaning, proceeded gravely with the horse to the stable yard. "Did you see him, Andy? Did you see him?" said Sam, when he had got fairly beyond the shelter of the barn and fastened the horse to a post. "Oh, Lor, if it wasn't as good as a meetin', now to see him a-dancin' and kickin' and swearing at us. Didn't I hear him? Sway away, old fellow, says I to myself. Will you have your loss, or wait will you catch him? Lor, Andy, I think I can see him now." And Sam and Andy leaned up against the barn and laughed to their hearts' content. "You ought to seen how mad he looked when I bought the house up. Lord, he'd have killed me if he dares when I was standing in innocent and as humble. Lord, I seed you," said Andy. "Ain't you an old hoss, Sam?" "Rather specks I am," said Sam. "Did you see missus upstarts at the winder? I seed her laughin'." "I'm sure I was racing so I didn't see nothin'," said Andy. "Well, you see," said Sam, proceeding gravely to wash down Haley's pony, "I see queered that yer may call a habit of observation, Andy. It's a very 'portant habit, Andy, and I commended yer to cultivatin' it, now you're young. Hist up that hind foot, Andy. You see, Andy, it's bobservation makes all the difference in slaves. Didn't I see which way the wind blew dis yer mornin'? Didn't I see what missus wanted, though she never let on? That's ours bobservation, Andy. I specks it's what you may call a faculty. Faculties is different in different peoples, but cultivation of 'em goes a great way. I guess if I hadn't helped your bobservation this mornin', you wouldn't have seen your way so smart," said Andy. "Andy," said Sam, "you're a promisin' child, there ain't no matter o' doubt. I think lots o' yer, Andy, and I feel no way ashamed to have ideas from you. We oughter overlook nobody, Andy, 'cause the smart of us gets tripped up sometimes. And so, Andy, let's go up to the house now. Be bound missis'll give us some uncommon good bite this yer time."